Anya, this is the second part of Jack and the Beanstalk. So let's find out what happened the next time he went up the beanstalk to see the giant. Oh, he was at the doorway of the woman's house, and he said, "Oh, I will not dare," she said. "A few months ago I took a poor hungry boy, and he stole one of the treasures belonging to the giant, my husband, and since then he has done nothing but scold me." But Jack begged so hard that the giant's wife took him to the kitchen and gave him a good slap. Cynthia. Then she hid him in the lumber closet just as the giant knocked at the door. "Ah, I smell fresh meat." "That is the only piece of fresh meat the crows left on the roof," said the wife. She hurried to get his supper ready. And while the giant grumbled and complained because she was so slow, at last, having finished his supper, she cried out in a voice like thunder, "Wife, bring me my money bags." She brought 2 heavy bags and placed them before the giant on the table. The giant opened them, and they were filled with bright new coins. I think Grandpa should read the rest of this because Grandma has a little cough.
Okay.
Right there.
All right, Anya, Grandpa's here, and here we go. Jack, peeking through a crack in the closet door, saw the giant counting the money, and he remembered that this money had really belonged to his father. At last, the giant put the money back in the bags and went to sleep at the table. Then Jack crept from his hiding place and picked up the money bags. He had not noticed the little dog under the giant's chair, and he was frightened when the dog began to bark. Woof, woof, woof. Jack tossed it a piece of meat from the table to quiet it. Fortunately, the giant was so sound asleep, he didn't wake up. With the money bag over each shoulder, Jack stole out of the house. But the bags were so heavy it took him 2 days to climb down the beanstalk and get back to his mother's cottage. There he found his mother very ill from worry. On seeing him safe and well, however, she felt better, and they lived happily for several years. But Jack did not forget the beanstalk, and he was determined to visit the giant once more. He had grown so tall and looked so much older, he was sure the giant's wife would not remember him. Jack said nothing of his plans because he did not want to worry his mother. But one morning he got up before dawn and climbed to the top of the beanstalk. He followed the same road he had traveled twice before. When he reached the giant's house, the giant's wife was standing at the door. As before, Jack asked her to let him come in, saying that he was hungry. He did not seem to remember him. She did not seem to remember him, and after he had begged for a long time, she took him into the kitchen and gave him some supper. Just as Jack was finishing the meal, Giant came home, and the woman told Jack to hide in the big copper wash boiler. "Ah, I smell fresh meat," cried the giant, and he began to search in every corner of the kitchen. He even put his hand on the lid of the copper wash boiler, but just as he was about to lift the cover, his wife called him to supper. When he had finished eating, he cried out in a voice like thunder, "Wife, bring me my harp." The giant's wife brought him a golden harp and placed it on the table. "Play," the giant commanded, and without anyone touching it, the harp began to play the most beautiful music. Jack raised the lid of the copper wash boiler and peeked out. "I must have that magic harp," he thought in the giant's voice. "It really belonged to my father." The giant's wife had already gone to bed. Jack waited until the music of the harp had lulled the giant to sleep. Then he crawled out of his hiding place, seized the harp, and started to run off with it. But the harp was enchanted. When it found itself in strange hands, it cried out, just as though it were alive, "Master, master!" The giant awoke, started up, and saw Jack leaving the house as fast as his legs would carry him. "Oh, you young villain," he shouted. "It was you who took my hen and my money bags, and now you are trying to steal my harp. Just wait till I get my hands on you. I'm going to eat you alive." "You'll have to catch me first," Jack shouted over his shoulder as he sped down the road with the giant after him. It was quite a race, but Jack reached the top of the beanstalk first. As he started to climb down, the harp began to play a very sad tune, but Jack said, "Stop!" and it was silent. When he reached the bottom, he found his mother sitting at her cottage door. "Quick, Mother, there's not a moment to lose," he shouted. "Give me the hatchet." His mother ran into the house for the hatchet, and Jack cut off the beanstalk close to the ground. It fell down, and the wicked giant tumbled headlong into the garden and was killed on the spot. Instantly, the fairy appeared and explained everything to Jack's mother. She told her what a brave boy Jack had been. She told Jack that he must grow up to be a good man like his father and make his mother happy for the rest of her days. Nothing was ever heard or seen again of the wonderful beanstalk, and Jack and his mother lived happily ever after. Bye.